Was that the best win of the year? Could have been the best win of the year. I still think it's Boston, the second Boston game, because I think that was the one without Brunson. Plus, Boston's the number one team in the East. But tell you what, man, last night was at least 1B. Just because of how impressive that one was. You were without Julius Randle on the road against the guys you're probably going to see in the playoffs, and you drop 130 points on the number one defense in the league. You know, it's amazing. Brunson takes it upon himself to lead the way with a career-high 48. I saw a whole lot of great things in this game, and I want to get to as most of it as I can. I'm probably going to miss a few things, because it's late here on the East Coast. As I'm recording, I get home. I got back home late tonight, so it's technically Sunday. Sunday, April 2nd, almost 1 in the morning. So I got to get this episode up. You know, that was a game. That was a hell of a basketball game. Talk about offense. And we're going to get into it. Episode 503 of the podcast. Let's get to the intro. Welcome to BD4, an RJ Carbone podcast. BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. BD4 is a 5-star show on Apple Podcasts, also available in video format on YouTube and Spotify. So thanks for stopping by, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Champion of the world, turning, looking, see ya! Anthony for three, bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied! Time! Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand. Yankees win!
Let's talk, man. Episode 503 of the podcast. Welcome, I'm your host, RJ Carbone, and you are listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. You know where to follow us, subscribe, download these episodes, you know all that stuff. Listen, man, I want to get right into the game. That was some game. 130-116 last night at the not at the Garden, in Cleveland against the Cavs. The Knicks win. This game got off to the most fast-paced, high offensive start that I've probably ever seen in my life. It was kind of wild how many shots were falling consecutively from both sides too. It was really something that just left me in awe. The Cavs were slightly better out the gate, though. The Knicks' pick-and-roll defense was poor to start. The defense on the point of attack wasn't great. The Cavs were just getting into the paint every time down, and that's no exaggeration. They were constantly getting into the paint. The Knicks were giving them the middle too much. For some reason, they were almost shading them to force them to go middle. It was frustrating. I think the Cavs went up by as many as 7, maybe 8 points. You had the one possession in the first quarter. You had the one possession where, with the Obi Toppin hedge and recover, but he was too late recovering, and it puts Cleveland up 7 or 8 points. They had some great ball movement from Mobley, from Garland. Donovan Mitchell starts the game going 8 for 8. And he's knocking down heat checks from 30, 35 feet out. Grimes is on him as best as he could, but there was nothing you could do. But Donovan Mitchell wasn't alone. You had Brunson, who kept answering back and barely missing. He was out there knocking down threes, hunting switches onto Mitchell. The Cavs could not hide him. Brunson getting into the paint with these. I mean, I know I just said it, but when I say this was the most high-octane offensive half I've ever seen, I swear, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. It was so much offense that I didn't know whether to be upset with the Knicks or proud of them. You know, do I praise their offense or do I hammer them for playing no defense? By halftime, the Knicks are up 79-72. I remember when that used to be a third quarter score. The end of the third quarter, entering the fourth. That was, back in 2013, 10 years ago. The Knicks shot 63% at the half, 60% from three. Brunson had 33 points at the time. The Cavs were 59%. 61% from three. Donovan Mitchell had 26 points. It was modern NBA at its finest. However, come the second half, the game slows down a little bit, and we saw much more defense out there. I was reading a blog. They were recapping the game last night. And they described the second half as more methodical. And I thought that was perfectly put. It's much more methodical in the half court. And it was a slower pace game in the second half. The Knicks defense especially turned it up. Robinson and Josh Hart making plays. Deuce McBride. Hartenstein was sensational. Come the fourth quarter, the Knicks pulled away and they win it. Transition offense, thanks to some great defense. The Knicks were getting into the paint. Some three balls right above the break. It was a 3-point game with about 10 minutes to go. But then the Knicks go and they get really hot on both sides. They go on this 12-0 run, puts them in total control, and they're up 119-104 all of a sudden with 7.5 to play. And as bad as he was, it was R.J. Barrett with some very nifty attacks into the paint during that stretch. Both times working with Hartenstein to get baskets. And Hartenstein, who I will say it again, and I'll probably say it a number of times throughout this episode, he was just remarkable in this game. Sensational. So the Knicks win 130-116 over the Cavs in this playoff preview. Obviously, some key players out from both sides. But to me, this was another great team-oriented win. And a team-oriented win without Julius Randle. Everybody was contributing. All 7 guys who took the floor in the fourth quarter made at least one shot. Deuce McBride with the dunk. RJ with the 2 finishes. Josh Hart, the 3-point ball. Jalen Brunson, a couple of triples himself. Grimes at the end, tacks on in transition. Everybody. 7 Knicks score in double figures last night. 6 Knicks shoot 50% or better. 7 Knicks finish with a positive plus-minus. And of course, Brunson outduels Donovan Mitchell 48 points to 42 points. Continuing to show why Brunson is not only this team's best player, but their most consistent and most important. So let's start there. Let's start with Jalen Brunson's performance, his art, because that's what it was. It was artwork.
Bing bang.
Sorry, he gets the bing bong ball last night. 48 points for Brunson, 9 assists, 2 turnovers. He shoots 18 of 32 from the floor, which is 56%. And he shot 58% from 3, 7 out of 12. The most impressive part was seeing him go toe-to-toe, tit-for-tat with Donovan Mitchell there in the first half. To be able to do that on the road and keep answering back to difficult shots with difficult shots of your own every single time back down is really, really demoralizing to the opponent. It probably takes a ton out of you when you're the superstar player on the floor. You're the mega guy, the mega player. You're the guy who they made the big deal. You're the superstar on the floor. And the opponent, the opposition's best player, their best player keeps one-upping you every single time down. So that was what's real. That's what makes Brunson special. And we've said this multiple times this year. He's able to stop runs and prevent the other team from sparking some type of momentum. So it was a plus to see that. And I felt so relieved after watching him last night do what he did, because there was a little tiny concern there with me with the injuries. He's been banged up and missing games. Coming off the injury the other night, he didn't look terrific. Not crisp. He's had some games recently where he's not been as sharp lately. And he's had some defensive problems more and more lately too. And last night, he wasn't perfect, obviously. But to see last night what he did offensively just told me he's going to be just fine. He's going to be absolutely okay. He looked very healthy. He was moving incredibly well. And he hasn't missed a beat. He's okay. And you had the entire arsenal. Once again, Jalen Brunson just displaying his entire bag out there. Showing how unguardable he really is. Pull-up triples, the in-and-out moves, fadeaways in the mid-range, floaters, step-backs, you know what I mean? Getting into the paint every single time off of a screen. Or if he's in one-on-one. And his footwork out of the pick and roll is some of the best footwork you're going to see from a guard. All night, especially early on, again, he was out there hunting Donovan Mitchell switches. If the Cavs put Mitchell on Josh Hart, the Knicks would have Josh Hart come and screen for Brunson to get the switch. If the Cavs put Mitchell on Emmanuel Quickley, the Knicks would then have Quickley come screen so Brunson could get the switch. They hunted the guy like prey. They tried everything, too, the Cavs. They even tried putting bigger defenders onto Brunson because they know he eats up the smaller ones. But that didn't work. Whether it was Stevens or Mobley, he'd post them up and fade away on them, which is funny every single time. It's never not funny to watch that. So the Cavs, J.B. Bickerstaff, he threw the kitchen sink at the guy. They mixed up coverages, and there was just no answer for him. It was an amazing performance. And the kid is just very tough, man. He's a tough fucking player. There's a reason he misses a lot of games. He's constantly playing physical. He's always attacking the paint, a paint full of big men offensively, getting banged around. He's taking charges all the time defensively. How about the one in the fourth quarter last night? Was it Osman who plowed right into him? Just smashed his face, and Brunson takes it like a champ to get the call and get the Knicks going the other way. He's been amazing. And honestly, with the way he's playing, I feel like he should be number 7 on the MVP race and not Randall. That's no disrespect to Randall. But I get it. It's about the numbers. But, if we're going to talk about that stuff, I feel like you should at least include Brunson in most improved. Or what I really think should happen is putting this kid, and this to me is more important than any award. Of all the individual awards, I feel like this is one of the more important ones. Put this kid on an all-NBA team. There are 3 all-NBA teams. He should at worst be on the 3rd team. I think Brunson definitely deserves a spot on the 3rd team. It's hard. Very difficult. There's so much star talent out there, so I get it. But, man, it feels like it'd be unfair. And it's an unfair league. That's how it works. Life's unfair, but he's done so much for this team. His impact has been so consistently great. And it's not just Brunson. Last night, the offense looked really impressive as a whole. maybe the most impressive offensive performance from the Knicks all year. Now, I'm not trying to start some narrative, and I don't want to, stir the pot. But I do remember when Randall sat towards the end of last season as well. I think he had COVID. I think it was COVID protocols. But the same exact shit would happen. The ball started moving with more fluidity. And the offense just flowed a lot smoother and faster. The pace picked up. I also think it might have something to do with Obi being out there. Because when Obi's on the floor, he makes quick decisions with the ball. Every time he touches it, I felt like it's shoot, pass, cut, shoot, pass, cut, shoot, pass, cut, shoot, pass, cut. Every time. It's quick, snappy decisions. The opposite. I'm not saying he's better, but I'm saying there always seems to be an emphasis on keeping the offense moving and keeping the ball swinging with these Obi Toppin lineups. And you got to credit Tom Thibodeau lately with the way the offense looked. How about the offensive creativity we're seeing lately? All this off-ball movement, the ball movement, all of this very rare weak side action that we're seeing out there. Inbound plays, ATO offense. It's like a different coach right now. It's a different offense. How many cuts have we seen the last two nights? How many cuts have we seen last night? With Hartenstein finding guys back door. He's out there putting on a clinic. We know the Knicks like the dribble handoff. They run a lot of center handoff actions. You see that a lot overseas in Europe, where the big is up top looking for passes. And if there are none, you keep running the same set with your cutters cutting until you find a man. It's a great system, and anything with off-ball activity is something I'm all for. And the Knicks are doing that a lot lately. You had a number of times, man, where Isaiah Hartenstein found his cutters from the pinch post or even the strong side post, like the one to R.J. Barrett. And you had him throwing dimes and face up at the top of the key. Shit. How about the pass to Josh Hart cutting? And then the same exact thing with the lead pass to Deuce McBride. It was the same play. And those two have had a very good on-court chemistry all year. You saw Deuce later in the game also hit Hartenstein up on a drive for a dump-off. But Hartenstein, man, he's looking like Joakim Noah out there. And it's no coincidence that Joakim Noah was playmaking like that under Tom Thibodeau. How about the play at the top of the second quarter out of the inbound? The Knicks were in the half court, coming off an inbound, down 3 points, and you see the chemistry also between Hartenstein and IQ, which has been something we've talked about this year. You got Hartenstein on the baseline, kind of setting up the Cleveland defense by motioning towards the weak side to his teammates and quickly throwing the inbound right next to him. Quickly passes to Hartenstein, and then he darts to the spot in the corner right behind Hartenstein, who bounce passes it back to Quickly real briefly, and he screens for him. The shot falls. You had R.J. Barrett out there setting pin downs for Grimes in the middle of the third quarter. It's, different shit. Even in the second half when Cleveland stopped switching Donovan Mitchell and they kept him home, or a lot of the time hedge and recover, the Knicks were smart with it. Brunson either found the big in the low post with an entry pass, hit the outlet, or he'd straight up hit the big on the roll the second Mitchell hedged. Saw a lot of good offense like that with Brunson and Hartenstein, also Brunson and Obi. The Knicks did a really nice job of setting up their offense to make it very difficult for Cleveland to hide Donovan Mitchell. They'd force the switch in the first half. Okay, they stopped switching in the second half. Well, the Knicks would go 2-3 flat with the screener up top and 3 line down at the bottom across both baselines. Early on, the Knicks, again, we've seen the short roll lately with Hartenstein and Josh Hart too. How about using the short roll with Mitchell Robinson? We saw that. Kicked it out to a corner 3. And that's something we got to keep doing. Because when Mitch screens or Hartenstein screens, Cleveland is going to trap. So it's important that our guards hit the short roll in time out of the double. It's all about playing quick basketball. I've spoke about this over the last few years. And when I mean playing quick, fast basketball, I'm not always talking about running the full court game. But playing quick in the half court is just as important, man. And I think the Knicks are showing lately that they can do that, especially last night. So I want to credit Tibbs' creativity. And it's not just his creativity with the playbook, but it's the lineups too. You're seeing more small ball. Last night, you feel for Obi Toppin for sure. Kid can't buy minutes. He still only got, 18 or 19 minutes last night. And maybe that's why he was so frustrated. I feel like last night with RJ and the fast break, like it all came to a boiling point. He knows he's never going to get his opportunity on this team, but I don't really mind it. I like what we're doing with the small ball lineups. And you've got Josh Hart and RJ Barrett at times getting those small ball 4 minutes. And it's looking pretty solid as of now. Defensively, it works best too. For the both of them. I hate RJ on smaller guards. And Hart, again, when he's on the perimeter against quicker, smaller wings and guards, the point of attack defense isn't always great. He'll get beat on those blow-bys. But when he slides up a position and defends the bigger threes and sometimes the fours, he's an excellent defender. I was on Twitter earlier, and I saw a tweet. Tommy Beer on Twitter said that Josh Hart has guarded Jimmy Butler for 106 possessions this year, which is the most possessions he's guarded a single player on the year. And Butler, during that time, shoots 27%. So, again, the bigger the defender is, I feel like the better he does on them. And the spacing in those small ball lineups are, I feel like, a little better. And I attribute that to why the Knicks shot 47% from 3 last night on 36 attempts. With Obi out there, he did play well himself, but he provided spacing for others. But he was attacking smaller players and switches. A few times on the fast break in the second half, he had his finishes. You had him shooting over Donovan Mitchell on the three-point line in the first half. Couple threes. He was good. But the Knick offense just looks like a different animal lately. And it's great to see. Do we get to Hartenstein? Let's talk Hartenstein. He gets the other game ball. Absolutely gets the other game ball.
Bing bang.
He has been excellent. Amazing last night. We already talked about the offense, the passing. But he was great everywhere. 5 points, 4 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. He's perfect for that second unit, man. He really is, and it's going to pay dividends in the postseason. And I'll take it a step further, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because this is a guy I could not stand early on in the year. But I would not hate if if Isaiah Hartenstein got the big man closing minutes over Mitchell Robinson in the playoffs. Because if he keeps playing like this, he absolutely deserves it. His rim protection, his pick and roll coverage, he's holding his own out on the perimeter. You saw him block Tyler Hero last night or the other night. He's rotating very well, exceptionally well. He had 3 blocks last night, 2 of them in the fourth quarter, and both of those fourth quarter blocks came where he's initially picking up the ball handler in the pick and roll and then rotating down all the way to the basket, the same play before the second pass arrives. He's challenging Mitchell at the basket last night, challenging entry passes into the low post. Mobley was playing very hesitant in the fourth quarter simply because he saw what Hartenstein was doing. His presence alone. It's real awesome stuff, and I couldn't be more glad to be wrong about Isaiah Hartenstein. He's playing really good. So, yeah, I would like to see him in the closing lineup. I have no problem with that anymore. And the defense last night was good, man. It picked up for sure in the second half. The rotations looked a lot crisper. I could go on and really dive, give a deep analysis here about the defense, but I got to get up early tomorrow. I got to do some school assignments in the morning. I got to prepare notes for the Yankees episode that we're going to drop after the series. And then I'm actually leaving for the third game of the set. I'm leaving for the game at 11 o'clock. It's a 1 p.m. game. I'm going to be there. But it wasn't only Hartenstein on defense. Everybody making hustle plays last night. Look back in the fourth quarter, man, at a couple of plays towards the end with like 5 or 6 minutes left. You got Emmanuel quickly making hustle plays in transition to prevent Cleveland from scoring. Contesting Garland on the break. Contesting Karis LeVert. Forcing misses on the fast break. So, really, really cool. Really impressive. I liked when the Knicks took advantage of Cleveland's lack of shooting by trapping. When Mitchell was when Mitchell was on the floor and Darius Garland off the floor, you'd see the Knicks trap up top to force the pass to someone who can't shoot well, like a Rubio. We saw that. I think that's something the Knicks need to exploit in the postseason because the Cavs don't have a ton of shooting depth. So if Garland's going to be sitting and they have Mitchell out there, you got to make a point of emphasis. This is now the time we trap. This is when we blitz the pick and roll. This is when we put 2 on the ball when Mitchell has it. Force them to kick out to one of their weaker shooters. And the Knicks aren't a team who, put a ton of ball pressure on. They don't force a ton of turnovers, but I thought they showed really good pressure, especially in the fourth quarter. They forced a couple of turnovers late. I think they should play more physical with the Cavs. That was my biggest gripe in the Atlanta series a couple years ago. The Knicks, I feel like, did not play physical enough with Trae Young. I think you got to bully these dudes. We've got size with Randall if he's healthy. We've got Hartenstein. We got to bully them around. We got to push them to the floor. Play physical. If you're up enough in a game, pick up a fucking flagrant. I play dirty a little bit. I'm all for that shit. But overall, last night, I thought the defense definitely flipped the switch in the second half, holding them to 44 points, just 43%. Garland was only 1 of 6. Overall, the Cavs scored 116. Only 4 points more than their average, and that's with Mitchell dropping 42 points. Also, Brunson, that charge in the fourth quarter, has him up to 26 charges on the year, 3rd in the NBA. So good stuff there. But yeah, this was a good playoff preview, man, and I'm some key decisions off the top of my head that I jotted down right before I hit record. I think Quickly and McBride are going to be key pieces in the playoffs because of their defense. When RJ and Brunson are out there, it could be very tough defensively getting stops on Garland and Mitchell. I almost prefer RJ to play at the 4 to get him off the smaller guards. But Brunson's defense is an absolute issue. They were hunting him too. So I think Tibbs will have to, I think he's going to have to include Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride's point of attack defense is way too valuable. His ability to go around screens like they're not even there. I think he has to be part of the rotation. And honestly, if the Knicks lose in the postseason to Cleveland, and it's because they can't stop that backcourt, and if Deuce wasn't a part of the postseason rotation, that's going to be a really bad look. So I'm very curious. I'm really, really, really curious to see how that shapes up. What is Tom Thibodeau going to do? Considering Randall's healthy by then, is he going to consider using a 10th man? Even if it's for 5, 6, 7 minutes a night. Situational defensive possessions. Is he going to implement a plan that includes Deuce McBride? I also jotted down that Tibbs has got to start using his challenges, and that's another concern of mine entering the playoffs. We've seen it many times this season where he holds back way too many times. Saw it again last night. It happened. And this next talking point here isn't a decision, but it's more execution by the players. But maybe Tibbs should have these guys at the foul line in every single practice from now on until the end of the postseason, because the Knicks' foul shooting is a problem. On the year, they rank 22nd, which is awful. But in the last 2 games, the Knicks are shooting 57%, 27 of 47 at the foul line. It's bad. Absolute dog water. If you want to lose a playoff series, that's it right there. That will do it. It's why Brunson missed out on his 50 points last night. Even Quickly was like the Knicks' 2 best free throw shooters, Brunson and Quickly. They've had their weird streaks this season. Both of them are in the low 80% range, which is not what you want from your best, percentages. But, those are just a couple of things. You had the RJ and Obi thing happen last night. Whatever. It's who cares? It happens. Like I said, I think with Obi, it was just reaching a boiling point with his role on the team. But with RJ, it's the tunnel vision as always, man. The Knicks had the 3v2 fast break. Grimes is trailing. RJ's on the right wing. Obi's up ahead. And RJ keeps the ball. Fumbles it. Yeah. MSG showed on the telecast that Tibbs had to break it up. RJ kind of just snapped. And they said they were all cool. 5 minutes later, they made their peace. And in the post game, they seemed cool. But yeah, it's just 2 competitors going at it. Again, it's something you don't want to see happen over and over. I think that's what makes it frustrating when Randall is constantly, scuffling and getting into it verbally with players, teammates, officials, coach. Like it's frustrating. But I don't think it's a legitimate issue unless it's with officials constantly. You're in risk of getting a tech. But the whole yelling at your teammates thing, I don't think it's, it's just being competitive. And then one last thing I wanted to bring up here. Josh Hart, we talk on his defense. He's such an efficient basketball player. He's always out there in the pass lanes on defense, which is why he, gets them out in transition a lot. Of course, the aggressive rebounding. But you know what's funny, man? I was not complaining, but I was kind of nitpicking a little bit the other day about how sometimes he needs to be more aggressive offensively and take those open looks from the 3-point line. But maybe his lower volume is the reason for his super efficient offense, because the kid has been incredibly efficient. And I've got some numbers here. With the Knicks, Josh Hart is a 63% shooter from the field and 58% from 3. In the last 7 games, he's 74%, 64% from 3. In the last 3 games, Josh Hart is shooting 93% from the field. Just 1 miss. And he's 100% from 3. 3 out of 3. He doesn't need a high shot volume to impact the game. Timely shots, good defense, smart offense. He's a Tibbs guy. I like to say he's the Knicks version of Draymond without the attitude. He's the Knicks version of Draymond. That's it. Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades type of guy. Winning impact. The Knicks are now 15-6 with Josh Hart. That's a 714 win percentage. So, an impressive win last night. Let's head to break, and we'll wrap it up from there. Again, no need to go too deep into this. When we return from break, we'll wrap it up with our question of the day. Stay with us. Be right back. BD4 is located on many different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and if you do there, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review. You can listen to it on Spotify, but you can also watch the podcast on both Spotify and YouTube. BD4 is available on many other platforms as well. All you got to do is search it up. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and much more. We also have a website now for BD4. If you go to BD4blog.com, you can find the blog, the podcast links, and also where to find me on social media. Just go to BD4blog.com. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. All right. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, episode 503 of the podcast. Let's wrap this one up and get to our trivia question. All right. So for this episode 503, our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day is, what year was it the last time both the Knicks and Cavs scored under 100 points against each other? All right. What year was it the last time both the Knicks and Cavs scored under 100 points against each other? So let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. One final time. What year was it the last time both the Knicks and Cavs scored under 100 points against each other? Episode 503 is in the books. Hope you guys enjoy the show. I'm going to end this show right here. Stop the recording. Upload it as soon as I can. Maybe put the promo up. And then I'm going to bed because I'm tired. So that's it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.